So today I'm going to be talking about the truth about joining a sorority, but before I really get into it, I just want to point out that this is my personal experience. It might be different for you if you're already in a sorority or if you're thinking about it and you end up joining and it's different from what I have said. It does change from what school you go to or what sorority you join. So I just want to put that out there before I get started. So first I'm going to talk about the recruitment process because I feel like no one really knows what it's actually like. So it's actually very long, and this could also change depending on what school you go to, but from my friends that I've talked to that have gone to different schools and joined a sorority, it was kind of the same in a sense. So it is a very long process, and I guess the first weekend is the worst. Not because it's actually bad, it's just very long and pretty tiring and you don't really know what to expect. Basically, you start off by talking to each sorority, you talk to a few girls from each, and you spend about, I think 45 minutes it was in each one, and you just talk to either one or two, maybe three girls, and you kind of just get a feel for if you like them or if they like you. And it is kind of awkward, but it gets easier as you go to each one. But the first one is definitely nerve-wracking, and you shouldn't really worry too much just because you're nervous, but also they are nervous and they're already in the sorority. They want you to like them because they are your first impression. So just keep that in mind that they're nervous too. So at my school, after we did that, you get to like narrow it down from which ones you like, and then the next weekend you would go to the houses and talk some more, and you kind of just get more into depth about the sorority itself and what they are about. Basically, it's like their philanthropy, which is the organization that they raise money for. And that's what the whole sorority is kind of defined by, if that makes sense. So on bid day, that's whenever you receive the bid from your sorority, and you can either choose to accept or deny it. And bid day is kind of like the best day. Everyone says bid day, best day, but it is a really big day. So I myself, and I know everyone that was in my like recruitment group, we were all very nervous because we didn't know if we were going to receive the bid from the sorority we wanted or if we're going to get one at all, because there are times when people don't get any, but usually they'll call before you go there, so then you don't just walk in and there's like nothing for you. Basically, you get your bid, you open up the envelope that it's given to you in, and you either say that you accept it or deny it, and then you wait for the actual big day to start. So for me, we started off by going off in groups, and basically every sorority is outside, or you might be doing it inside, but for me it was outside, and all the girls are in groups sectioned off, but they're all together. It was something I've like never seen before. It was honestly crazy, and everyone's wearing a theme for their own sorority. So for mine, I don't know what the exact theme was, but it was really like colorful. So you line up with your group, you kind of stand in front of the sorority that you're going to be running home to. It's basically just running to the sorority that you chose, and they also kind of choose you. So once they announce to run home, you run to your sorority, they all hug you, they're all excited, you receive a shirt, and once all the groups are done with that, then you walk to your sorority house, and it's basically like a giant party celebrating you joining a sorority. And it's kind of weird because you don't know anyone, or at least you most likely won't know anyone. So that's kind of where you get the start of getting to know people and meeting new people and making new friends, and it's really fun. But for me, I'm not really a person to be like out there. I'm kind of shy, so I kind of stood off a little bit, but there were girls coming up to me trying to talk to me, and I found some of the girls that I talked to during the recruitment process, and I hung around with them more because I felt more comfortable, because I felt like I kind of knew them, and they were super nice, and it was really fun. They had music playing and everyone's dancing, they have food, and it's just a fun day. You have like different stations for like photo shoots, and it was really fun. Also, I forgot to include this in the video, but if you're kind of on the fence on if you should join a sorority or not, you could always go through the recruitment process, and you could even be a new member in the sorority, but before you get initiated, you are still able to drop and you haven't paid anything yet. So just keep that in mind, that if you end up joining and you realize you don't have the time or it's just not for you, then you could still drop, and then at least you know that you tried and you'll feel better that you gave it a chance. Another big thing within a sorority is big little. So that's basically like big sister, little sister, and we all went on like dates essentially with different girls, and we would just go either to like Starbucks or go get dinner somewhere, and they paid for me, but I don't know if everyone's gonna do that because they didn't have to, but they just did. And you talk and you kind of bond in a way, and that's how you decide if you want that person to be your big, or if they like you too, they'll ask if you want to be their little, sort of. So after a couple weeks of doing the little dating situation, you narrow it down to your top pick. And for us, we did our top 10, but I didn't even meet with 10 girls, so I just put down the few girls that I did know. And there was this one girl that is my big now. I met her during recruitment, and we just had so much in common. We're basically like the same person, and I just knew from then that she was gonna be my big, and she ended up being my big, so I was really excited about that. But during big little week, whatever, your big will send you a gift anonymously, so you can kind of guess who it's gonna be, but you don't actually know. Whereas like I kind of knew just because we just bonded so well that I figured I don't really know who else it would be. But they send you gifts. I think we got like 3 baskets of different things, and that's really fun and cool. And I liked opening like my own presents during the week, because who doesn't like receiving presents, you know? They kind of get clues to who they might be, but usually the clues are kind of lies. So then you don't actually know who they are, so they'll kind of confuse you. That's why whenever I was opening my presents, she left a note saying that she was in a certain major, what color hair she had, stuff like that. And it was nothing like she actually was, so it kind of threw me off. I'm like, maybe it's not her, but it was her. She just tried tricking me because she didn't want me to know. Then after that's over, you have a big little reveal, and that's whenever you get to meet your big. And you basically, for us, we had a curtain. Once they did the countdown, they dropped the curtain, and your big was right behind the curtain, and you guys were wearing the same outfit. So for me, my big decided to trick me again, and the girl behind the curtain wasn't actually my big, so I was kind of confused because I swore I knew who it was. And I was like, I was still happy about it, but then my big came running out, and you know, she just likes tricking me, I guess. So now I'm going to get to the actual truth behind sororities that no one really knows about, and that is, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notebook if you see me looking down. I'm kind of gonna talk about the stereotype around sororities, basically like what you see in movies or what you hear from other people. So that could be the drugs, partying, rumors that you hear, hazing. Hazing is a big one. So those are more of the like negatives, I guess. At least in my sorority, I don't know anyone that does any drugs, but I mean, I guess you never know. And also, I personally don't go out and party that much. So I mean, you're not like forced to go party with them or just party in general. It's your choice. You have your free will, and if you want to go out, then cool. If you don't, then that's also fine. No one's gonna judge you. No one's gonna be mad if you don't decide to go out. Now for hazing, I have never experienced hazing myself, but I know in other sororities I have heard things that they have, but also people make up rumors. You don't know what's true, so I wouldn't rely on the rumors, especially because whenever I went into recruitment, the sorority that I'm in now was actually the last one I wanted to join because of all the rumors I heard about them, and they actually ended up not to be true, and I love them. So don't listen to the rumors. People just get mad if they don't get into a certain sorority, and they'll make things up. Or the boys in the frats, or just boys in general, you know how they can be, and they'll make up rumors to make the sorority look bad. So don't always listen to the rumors, because most of the time they're not true. And if you've experienced rumors about yourself and you knew that they weren't true, then you can understand that not everything that people say are true. Another negative, it could be negative, maybe not. It depends on your major or what you have going on in your life. So being in a sorority is pretty time consuming because you have meetings every week, you have different events you're supposed to attend, there's fundraisers and more. So I actually didn't join my sorority until my sophomore year, because freshman year I was going in as a pre-med major and I didn't think I would have time, but I ended up having a lot of free time. So that's whenever I decided to kind of maybe give it a try. I decided to join my sophomore year, but I know that it can be really hard, especially whenever your major, which it should have been my major too, but I guess I just wasn't dedicated enough to it. If you're studying all the time, you have a lot of schoolwork, homework, joining a sorority might not be for you, just because it is so time consuming and a lot of things are mandatory to attend, but also school comes first. You have to have a certain GPA to be in a sorority, or else you can get like penalties or even get kicked out, because you're supposed to be doing good in school still and not have the sorority kind of ruin that. So you do have to maintain a certain GPA, and also there are rules within sororities. So for example, a lot of people don't know, but sororities actually do community service, and that's more of like a mandatory thing. You have to have a certain amount of hours of community service. Either, I guess it depends on which sorority you're in, but for mine, it was a few hours each semester, and it honestly wasn't that bad. I know people probably don't want to do community service, but I mean, if you're helping the community, that's always a good thing, and you're helping others out, while also it will look good on your resume in the future. So a lot of things that you do within the sorority are gonna look good on your resume in the future, which is another reason why I wanted to join. Also, with sororities, there's a lot of networking. So before my major, whenever I was pre-med, I was gonna go to medical school, and then I changed to PA school. So if, say, one of my sisters had a family member that was a PA, whenever you go to PA school, you're supposed to do shadowing hours, and they said, oh, my aunt is a PA, you could shadow her. I could hook you up, because it is kind of hard to come by. So stuff like that, it could end up being your future job one day or whatever like that. There's just a lot of connections within a sorority. Also, I don't know if this is for every sorority also, but in mine, we had to do 8 hours of studying each week, and we had to log on to like a program that tracked it for us. And that was kind of just so they make sure you're keeping up on your schoolwork. And it's actually very helpful if you're kind of a procrastinator like me, because you have to do the 8 hours or else you can't attend certain events like date parties, which are really fun, and you don't really want to miss out on it. So it kind of forces you to do your schoolwork, and it's always good to keep up on your schoolwork. So I don't really view that as a negative, even though it is kind of annoying, but it is supposed to be positive, so just keep that in mind. Also, whenever you're in a sorority, you're supposed to be kind of like a role model to everyone around you and on campus, so you're supposed to be on your best behavior. You shouldn't be going out to parties, getting wasted, making a fool of yourself. You shouldn't be posting anything negative or bad on social media. Basically just kind of common sense things that you shouldn't be doing anyways, but it's still like a rule. You can't really be doing anything like that, which I personally don't have a problem with because I don't like acting crazy anyways, but I know some people, they're a little wild and it could be a problem for some people. Lastly, I kind of want to just talk about the price. So this can range depending on the sorority. Like I know even at my school, all the sororities don't cost the same amount and they have different rules they have to follow, I guess. So for some sororities, you have to live in the chapter house, which can be, I guess, more expensive for that school year, but I didn't have to live in the chapter house as long as it got filled up. And usually the freshmen going to sophomore year are the ones that live there anyways, so I didn't really want to live there because I'm going to be a junior, and not that I don't want to be with a bunch of like sophomores or whatever, but I want to be with people that are like my own age, if that makes sense, and just live with them. So being in a sorority is pretty expensive, and I'm not like rich or anything, and I'm still able to manage it. A lot of people pay for it on their own because you could either pay it in full, or they do have payment plans where you could pay per semester, pay per month, I think. And then even if that's kind of hard for you, they do try to work with you as much as possible because they don't want the money factor to be the decision on whether you join or not, because they want you to join because it is a really good opportunity and they don't want money to be a factor in that. So that's very nice, at least for me. I personally don't pay it myself. My parents help me a lot whenever it comes to school, so thankfully I have them to help me out, but a lot of people do pay it on their own. I just didn't have time for a job at the time, so my parents did help me with that. So living in the chapter house is actually a really good opportunity. That's whenever people kind of meet everyone within the sorority, and that's when people get really close to each other. So if you're kind of iffy on if you should live in the chapter house, I would say that you should, even though I didn't, so I can't really tell you what to do, but it is a good opportunity, and I wish I would have joined my freshman year so then I would have been able to live in the chapter house, but it is what it is. And also it is usually cheaper than living in a dorm like on campus, and it's also nicer, so that's a plus. And also they usually, not every sorority has this, but the one I'm in has a chef, and whenever you hear me say chef, you're probably like, oh, you're bougie, but it's not really like that. It's more like she just cooked kind of a buffet style meal and you kind of choose what you want, but it's nothing like fancy like personal chef type deal, because I know whenever I first heard that there was a chef, I was like, oh, okay, we got a chef up in here, but it's really not like that. But I think I pretty much covered everything, at least everything that people don't really know about. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful, and if there are any other questions, just comment below and I'll be able to answer as many as I can. And if you want to see more content like this, then please consider hitting that subscribe button down below. I'd really appreciate it and it would help me a lot. I guess that is all for today's video.